friends. I just wanted to speak a little bit about some verse in the Bible that a friend of mine quoted, and in relationship to the Vedic perspective on it. And so anyway, I had a friend. He quoted a verse from a realization and revelation of Paul, who said, Christ is in all, Christ is all and in all. No one is excluded and no one can escape him. He might have added that on there, I'm not sure. But I really wanted to talk a little bit about this because there's a lot of verses like this in the Bible, but there's no theological satisfactory really conclusion that's inclusive how Christ can be in all and through all. It just doesn't make really logic. It sort of makes sense, but it's not really clear, at least not to me, and I think a lot of other Christians, because they debate these subjects a lot. But if you take a verse from the Bhagavad Gita, this is in 7:21 in Bhagavad Gita, and it's an I am statement too in the Bhagavad Gita. And this is Krishna. He says, I am in the heart as the super soul. See? I am in the heart, that's part of the verse. And we'll get to the next part. But this is the essence. I am in the heart as the super soul. Now this makes sense. It's a more of a universal context, how that Supreme Lord is in my heart, in your heart, in everybody's heart. But when people, generally Christians, say Christ is in all and through all, that means you got to accept Jesus. That means you have to convert to become a Christian. Then you will know that Jesus is in your heart and he's in everyone else's heart, which is true. But yet there are many people that will never be. They'll never look at that, say, well, I'm not going to become a Christian, but I still believe in God. See? I'm worshiping Krishna. See? So, or I'm worshiping Shiva, or I'm worshiping Ram, or Lord Chaitanya, or whatever. So, how do we understand Christ is in all and through all in a more universal, inclusive context that includes the Christian, includes the Muslim, without converting to becoming a Christian and Jesus? See, this is something that needs to be resolved, and Bhagavad Gita helps. Actually, it clarifies the whole thing. I am in the hearts of all persons. So that I am. See, it's like when Jesus said, I am with you always. See, when people say, well, that's Jesus. Only Jesus is with you always. See? So that means you have to become a Christian and you have to believe in Jesus for I am to be with you always. See, this is why there's all these conflicts and fights over religion, that there's only one incarnation of God, then that's Jesus. But when we understand this verse, I am in the hearts of all, you understand that God has various incarnations. See? Krishna can be in the hearts of all. Jesus can be in the hearts of all. Ram is in the hearts of all. See, because one God, just different manifestations. That's all. Different incarnations. And they teach various aspects of truth that are necessary and helpful for us to understand God better. And this is one of them. How God can be one, but manifest many various incarnations that are all authorized and worshipable and deliver people. Each one of these incarnations, Jesus, Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, Ram, have all been known as deliverers. They all have that quality. They deliver us. They give salvation to those who believe in them. See? So it's the same God, just a different manifestation. But now, the next part of the verse is very interesting. And this will probably help clear up a few things, too, for Christians. And for everybody, For me. So, the next part of the verse is, this great I Am is speaking, in this more inclusive context. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady, so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. See? You notice that? He says, demigod. See, and this is where I think a lot of Christians have a problem, where they think everyone but Jesus is a false god, or in other words, like a demigod. See, demigod means very powerful personalities. They're controlling the sun, they're controlling the air, the water, and many things, elemental stuff. It's powerful stuff, man. They have that mystic powers and stuff like that too. See? So that great universal context says, for those who want to worship a demigod, demi means under the true God. See, under God, demi, under God. So these demigods are working under the direction and the control of the Supreme Lord. Even Brahma, he says, people think I'm a controller because he's got so much power. But actually he's working under the control of the Supreme God. So he knows as Narayan or Krishna. These are different manifestations. Okay? So not all are false. Not all these incarnations are false gods. There are authorized incarnations that have been identified as actual saviors, and the others are not. They work under the direction of the Lord. Okay? So that clears up what is a false god and what is a true manifestation and incarnation of the Lord. They have the power to save us. That's why they're still known in the whether you know them as Jesus or as Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, they're still known because people are taking shelter there and getting saved. And they're getting the Lord in their heart awakened. See? And the Lord reveals things. Okay? So there are different devotees of these different incarnations. There's another thing, as one becomes a devotee. Okay? And there are different revelations that come from that. See? When one is worshiping Jesus, there's revelations that come. And this is which has nurtured the Christian doctrine, teachings. It gives life to the disciplic line. What would happen if Paul didn't share his revelations that he got by worshiping Jesus? Okay. See, it adds life to that line, what's called in the Vedas a disciplic succession. See? Well, hey, there are other persons worshiping authorized incarnations of the Lord like Krishna, Lord Chaitanya. These devotees also got revelations. Just like Jesus spoke, the incarnation spoke, people heard, they wrote down what he said, and also things that were revealed to them confidentially by their worship of that incarnation. It's the same thing. Krishna spoke, Lord Chaitanya spoke, Ram spoke. And they had many followers, dedicated, surrendered, who also wrote their revelation about that came in their worship of these incarnations. And a thoughtful person, an open person, who understands some of these confidential intricacies, they can draw from the revelations of these various devotees and incarnations that have graced our planet and get a better picture of who God is. Not a divisive God, not a genocidal God, not a God who's interested in just blood worship, different. You can understand a better picture. Logical picture. God is logical. Inclusive. God is inclusive. This is all His. Picture, understanding of God. If you're open. If not, you just take your own little scripture and the revelations from those persons within that line, and you'll understand what through those revelations, but not what's outside of that. It's like, there's all these different ponds of water, and you go in one pond, there's, water in there, but there's all these other ponds. But you say, well, I don't want to leave my pond because my pond is all in all. It's not. It's like the Crows, Watch that movie, The Crows, to understand how truth is progressive. So I like this. As soon as one desires to worship a demigod, I make his faith steady, so he can devote himself to that particular deity. So that goes for the demigods. So some people, they're worshiping the demigods. Okay? But they're not, it's actually, even Krishna says this is less intelligent. A Christian could also say this is not very intelligent, and they preach that, no, you should worship the supreme God. But not everybody has that kind of intelligence. And there's it's like babies. To ride a bicycle, they get on a bicycle with training wheels. See, and later on they can ride the real bicycle or something, something like that. It's just baby steps and learning. See? That's why there's another verse in all of the Vedic conclusions. One must respect the demigods. Even the demigods should be respected. Not, he's a demigod, I hate him. He's a false god, those who worship them, they should go to hell. Not that. No, demigods should be respected because they're part of the universal plan of God. You could see by this verse. See? God himself says, I make that person, worshipper's faith steady. So the Lord himself is making that person's faith steady. Why? Because, from one perspective here, because, my little pea brain, because he knows that person, that's all they can do. They have that kind of intelligence. They can't understand the difference between a demigod and the supreme God yet. They can't understand that. Just like many Christians can't understand that Jesus has a relationship with Krishna and Lord Ram and Lord Chaitanya. Of course, if you come to these classes, you'll understand that in due course. Maybe quickly, maybe it'll take some time. But one will understand, because that's how we learn, is by being open, respectful, to associate with other devotees who are getting other revelations and realizations and insights about the truth. That's how we grow. Progression. So, as soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady. So, Bhagavad Gita was to help people understand how God is working with that way. But you know what? What if you're worshiping Jesus? What if you're worshiping Krishna or Lord Chaitanya? Well, the Lord also makes our faith steady in that, so that we can go deeply into that. If that's what I want, if this is what the whole thing is. If you're worshiping some authorized incarnation, that's why you focus on. You focus on Jesus. You focus on Lord Chaitanya, Krishna, and worship. The Lord makes our faith steady. But if we understand the more inclusive paradigm that we're speaking about here in the Vedas, you don't have to say, well, Jesus is the only way because he's the one I'm worshiping. Or Krishna is the only way because he's the one I'm worshiping and my friends are worshiping. Or Lord Chaitanya or Shiva or Ram is the only way because he's the one that our group is worshiping and our group is the best group. Or Allah is the only way because our group is the only group. And can you see the same pattern? See, but this is not clear understanding. It's the same thing. It's religion level. We, make everything, it's just our way or the highway. Our group knows everything. Our group has the answer. It's Allah is the only way, Jesus is the only way, Krishna is the only way. It's like this. The thing about the Vedas, the Vedic conclusion, it has a paradigm that includes all incarnations. It also shows you their these incarnations' relationship with the demigods, so you can see in perspective without criticizing the demigods. You can start to harmonize the way what God sees things. God is not just a Christian. God is not just a Muslim. God is not just a Vaishnava. he's he's all in all. So I just wanted to, I don't want to make this video too long here. I just had a few things to say this morning. To how Christ is in all, and through all, in an inclusive paradigm that is logical, that is more clear, that is not a sectarian understanding of that you have to become a Christian in order to realize that God is in all and through all. You can become a Krishna devotee or a devotee of Lord Chaitanya, and you will realize the same thing. That's why, if you're open, you look through the scriptures, you see the heart of them is saying the same thing. Same essential teaching, and then there's other, there are details that you can get through different revelations. Okay, so until our next broadcast, thank you very much.